We need to, I'll just adjust. Yeah, I'll come closer. All right, hey everybody. Hey. All right, I'm here with Curtis Stone, everybody. I can't believe it. This is a long time coming. It's been fun chatting with him and hanging out, and we're just filming some stuff. But the reason I wanted to do this live video with Curtis is that so I can answer some of your guys' questions. So I collected some questions from my patrons, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. So we'll be talking to Curtis all about it. So yeah, Curtis, welcome to my channel.
Thanks for being. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll just start right away with the questions. So if you guys are watching later, I hope this helps you guys on your farm.
Scroll back on those on the phone. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never done YouTube Live from my phone. It's always from my computer.
So we're gonna go through my written questions here. If you guys have some, throw them into the comments, and we'll try to get to those.
Give them super chats too.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Here we go. The first question for Curtis.
Okay.
This is from Gloria Vesquez from Patreon. Do you use compost tea in your garden?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Why?
It's a waste of time.
You think it's
in my opinion, just as far as like, what are you trying to get out of it? And so my goal has been to make a living on my farm. That's been my main goal, right? And so with that, to produce a good product that high-end chefs wanted, met all the criteria that they needed, it didn't provide any extra value than I could just get out of putting good compost on my beds. So by not using compost tea, I say I save 2 steps, because you got to make the tea and then you got to spray it.
Exactly.
And I did it. I did compost tea for years, and it didn't work. And then after I went to Jean Martin's new farm and seeing how much money and resources they put into compost tea to see no effect, then I was kind of like, it's a waste of time. Also in my personal garden, it all depends on what's your outcome. Like, what do you want to get out of it? For my personal garden, what I want to get is I want consistent yields. I want good, healthy food that I can feed my family, and I want it when I want it. And compost tea doesn't help me get to that any better. So, but again, somebody else might say, I want to have the highest bricks measurement so that I can brag about that. Okay, then maybe you'll get that with compost tea.
Yeah.
Maybe you will. I don't know. But for me, for what I want, it doesn't make sense. But there's many tools in the toolkit, right?
And you can create healthy soil without compost tea, and that's just
you certainly
a fact,
can
for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. I like the answer. How many cuts on this is from T. Marinelik. How many cuts on baby red Russian and Swiss chard in the summer?
Depends where you live. I can get cuts on baby red Russian in the summer. I get 2 tops. One's really good, and then the second one is like less than 50% of what you got.
Yeah.
In the springtime, I'll get like 8 cuts.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, it'll pump and it'll regenerate every 3 days.
Red Russian is one of those greens I've noticed that it comes back and it still tastes good, still has good texture.
Yep.
Compared to some other ones.
Yeah, like at this time of year down here, I would assume you could probably get a few cuts. But I don't know, I don't live down here.
What's up, Jared? Yeah, the hat is here. That's so funny. Yeah, people at the market, they say that if I'm not wearing my hat, they don't recognize me. It's kind of funny. All right, this is from Nate Davis on Instagram. How do you keep your greens from wilting in summer, like at the farmers market? What are some techniques?
Well, just, making sure your post-harvest is all dialed in, right? That's the first thing that's most important, and that they've been refrigerated for a night before they go to the market. So all that, and I mean, I've covered all that in videos before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then at the market,
on the table itself,
I bring everything in coolers. So I have these coolers where I can fit 24 bags of greens in each one, and then I have cool packs on the bottom, a towel between, so that the greens aren't touching. And then I do that. And then I only display a certain amount at a time.
Right, and you rotate them,
Yep.
maybe? Yeah.
Yep, okay. A little bit. Yeah, and that works fine.
Yeah, that's worked well for me, even on a 100-degree day on a black asphalt.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, you need coolers for sure, and good ice packs.
Yeah.
This is from Brad Davis on Instagram. This is a good one for you. Is the Jong worth buying? Jong.
Oh, is that how it's pronounced?
Yes,
oh, wow.
Yes, I've been wanting to correct many people on that.
Yeah,
I lived in Korea for a couple years. My wife's Korean, so she told me that is how you say it.
Wow, okay.
Jong. Is it worth buying right away, or can you start with something like the Earth Way?
Yeah, you can start with the Earth Way.
Yeah, I still use the Earth Way. Five years in.
You can start with the Earth Way, and it's fine.
What would be the benefit though of maybe the cost benefit of like just getting the Jong right away? What does the Jong do really well?
See, I would. So if I had to do all this again, so I started on $7,000 and I bootstrapped everything, right? I would way rather just start on 20,000 and get all the right gear right out of the gate and then screw all the trial and error. That's how I would do it if I could go back in time. I would actually just borrow money. And I'm not a fan of the debt money system and all that. You know that.
Yeah.
Steven and I are on the same page with a lot of things. It's just that I just want to like hit the ground running and just get it done.
Right.
And like, I mean, I just suffered so long. I'm just like,
I feel your pain.
I would
man.
not want to do that again, and I would
Yeah.
not want to subject somebody to that. But you know, whatever works. Your context is going to be the ultimate thing that makes you decide. I'm not going to make those decisions for you, but that's where I would be. Like if I had to borrow, but at the same time, hindsight is 20/20, right? So when I look back, I go, well, yeah, if I just did it all again, I'd just borrow 20,000. Well, I wouldn't. I don't. I actually had 14,000 cash when I started,
Yeah.
and I only spent 7. So if I had to go back in time, I don't have to borrow 6 and just get all the right gear and then just crush it. Having said that, when I was back in my time, there wasn't guys like you and me around.
No.
So I was having to figure it out.
That tool didn't exist.
That
yet.
tool didn't. The quick harvester didn't.
Yeah.
Like for me, 3 irreplaceable tools are the Jung seeder, the harvester, the greens harvester, and the paper pot. I would not farm the way I farmed for the past 10 years without those tools.
Yeah.
But those weren't all around when I started. So, you know,
What are you gonna do?
what are you gonna do? Yeah.
And you probably learned a lot of different skills and things by doing it this other way, and you know, it made you a stronger person. I'm sure. Like
Yeah, it's all part of the
grinding it.
story. You know, it all helps you become more, you know, versatile, and so yeah.
Yeah. Cool. This is from Mr. Ed Whitehead, my friend. He's a retired person out in South San Diego. He's got his own farm. He came out to visit me one time, and we did some farming together. And he's asking, do you think the microgreen market is declining or maintaining its current like sales volume and popularity? Are people getting the same prices still, you think?
I mean, I get like, you know, some people think, well, Curtis, no, you know, now you've created an online course about microgreens and told everybody about them. Is it saturated? It just depends on where you're asking, right? I mean, all these questions, I say this to people all the time, especially in consulting, which I'm no longer doing. But I say like, if you give me better questions, I'll give you better answers. And so it just depends where you're talking about. There's tons of places in the U.S. where there is no microgreens. So there's tons of open markets. As far as building a business that maybe does 10,000 or 2,000 flats a week of microgreens, yeah, maybe it's saturated. Yeah. But I think for all these little small farmers out there who are in niche markets, in little borough communities like we're in, we're in a greater San Diego area, but you're in the community, there's tons of market.
I agree. Even we're in San Diego, like there's a couple million people that live here, tons of restaurants, and I don't see the market saturated whatsoever. Not even close.
Yeah. Whereas, you know, again, to define things, it's like, could you go to all the top end restaurants in San Diego and offer microgreens? Maybe not, but why do you have to go to them?
Right.
Why not go to the ones that are maybe a little bit up and coming that don't have access to all the best farmers? So I don't think it's saturated. When we really pull the lens back, I don't think it's saturated at all.
Yeah. I think there's so much room for another 100,000 of what I'm doing.
Even here's one thing that's kind of funny. Even in my town, where I thought I'd saturated it, when I stepped back, because I was selling to 5 different franchise stores in my area, microgreens, probably like up to 200 units each store a week. It's a lot of microgreens. And when I stopped, because I closed my farm, August last year, and not to say I won't farm again, but I had to make some life changes to be a good family man. Nobody's moved into those stores to fill my boots yet.
That's crazy.
And I've been shocked that because it's been like 8 months since I stopped selling to those stores. Nobody has filled my boots. So what the hell? So I mean, I thought that would happen immediately, and I even I even told some of my students, hey, go to this store, tell them I sent you, and you'll be golden. Nobody's done it. So
farming is such a hard business, and it's a lot of work. So you know, a lot of people, you know,
and most
aren't
people
drawn to it.
Yeah, and most people talk. So it's like, there's always this fear of competition. Most people you think are your competition are just talking. They're not actually going to go for it. Yeah. It's the same. I found this in the tool space, because what I mostly do now is I make videos for my website, but I'm a product development guy now. Yeah. That's what I do for Paper Pot Co. I'm developing and engineering products that we're going to sell up in Canada, that we're going to be, we're already shipping down to Vista here, where our warehouse is. And even in the tool space, you think it's the same competition. It's not, because most people, like, I'll talk about tools. I'm going to make this tool, that tool. Somebody's like, oh, well, I could make that in my back garage. That person who's saying that is one in a million, and he most likely won't do it.
Yeah, that's
So
my,
it's
I
like,
agree.
who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, you mentioned your website where you're doing all of your own private videos now.
Yes.
I'm a part of that. It's called From the Field. Is it?
Yeah,
What's the full
dot
website?
farm, from the field dot farm.
And I think the course is open right now if you guys want to join.
Yeah. So it's closed. It's a closed registration. Basically, I got a little tired of making videos on YouTube, and I still am making videos on YouTube. People think that I put a video that was sort of clickbaity, that made it seem like that, but I wasn't. I'm still posting to YouTube, just not regularly. I'm putting over 2 hours of content, around 2 hours of content into this website every single week. It's all long form, and it's stuff that just doesn't economically make sense to post on YouTube. Because if you post 1 hour videos on, unless you're Joe Rogan, if you put in 1 hour videos on a YouTube channel, for guys like Steven and I in the content space that we're in, those videos will get no views. They'll get your hardcore fans will watch them, but nobody else will. And that just doesn't make sense in the YouTube game. So I got tired of the game, because I was posting 5 days a week for 2 years. I got burnt out. I had a baby. Doesn't work with family lifestyle. At least I don't want to be family vlogging. I'm not that kind of person. So to build I met a couple entrepreneurs that said, you got to do this membership thing. And I did, and it's been amazing. It's totally changed my life. It's totally changed the content I make. I can make better content for people who care about that content. And I can have more of a balanced lifestyle with my family, because I don't need to be, hey guys, from the, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
which you and I both have done, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's hard to maintain when you have a family.
I totally
And
understand
so this website's better because it's all long form. Like, all the videos are around an hour long. And then I do a Q&A podcast every week with my members.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And then I make short videos on there too. Like, there's so much content up on this site already.
Yeah, guys, like, I'll just kind of touch on a few things I've been learning. So he did a whole series at Steadfast Farm over in Arizona, the farmer Eric Schultz. Just incredible, marketing, how to package everything, just really detailed. And if you don't know Steadfast Farm, they're just insanely high level.
Yeah, one of the best market gardens in the U.S.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So, it's stuff that Curtis has never really touched on in this much detail before. So I've learned a ton. So it's like the more advanced course, basically. But it's just constant content coming out. I mean, there's one that you even talked about. How do you find land and set up a homestead? And
yeah, and I'm doing more of that, because I'm doing this series with this guy, Rob Avis, who is a personal friend of mine, but he's also an incredible permaculture consultant. Like, he knows more about this than most people, because he's also an engineer. So he's practical. He's not like, oh, herb spiral here, keyhole gardens here.
Yeah.
He's like, what's realistic? And so he's helping me design my dream homestead. And so Rob and I are doing a series of videos that might last years long. I don't know how long it's going to take to do this, but we're doing stuff like that. It's long form stuff. Sometimes I just do presentations while it's like a keynote type thing about marketing. And but you got a super chat there.
All right.
How do you roll back on your super chats?
Yeah.
Do you know how to do that?
Hold on, I don't close my video. You're doing a great job. Oh, thank you so much, Dragstrip.
Thank you.
Let's see here. I got another. Oh yeah, this is kind of a good question. You kind of answered this a little bit, but my friend Jason Robbins wanted to know, what do you think about farms, or my farm even, mixing in some of this permaculture stuff like chickens and teas and Korean natural farming, mixing that in with market gardening? Like, is there a place for that at all?
Absolutely.
Or...
There's a place for everything. It just depends on what you want to do. Like, what's your outcome? Not everybody's going to do the same thing, and you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. So it's like, Steven's doing some things here that I wouldn't do, but that doesn't mean that they're not valid. It's just like, what's your outcome? Like, what's the outcome you want to accomplish? And as long as you put what you're doing through that lens, all these things are tools in the toolkit. And as long as you're getting what you want out of it, that's all that matters. And what you get out of it is going to change. Like, my context has changed. I'm a family guy now. And so, like, I don't have time to screw around with little things. It's like, what do I need to do on the farm to get the job done the way that meets my context? And then that's it. And so, yeah, all these things are awesome. They're all tools in the toolkit. I geek out about them. Even though there's things that I know Steven's doing that I wouldn't do on my farm, I still think it's cool stuff. I'm fascinated with everything under the umbrella of sustainable agriculture.
Yeah.
Literally everything. So just because I'm not using all those tools doesn't mean I don't like them. Doesn't mean I think they're just not valid. It's just like whatever works for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Drag Strip Farm, the guy who sent me the super chat, I wanted to ask him. He sent me an email about a specific question. We'll try to answer it. So it's called Drag Strip Farm because his piece of land, it's 30 feet wide by like half a mile long, and he wants to set up a market garden. There's like a bunch of trees and stuff he has to clear too.
That's cool.
Isn't it interesting?
That's a neat idea.
It's like it's like 30 feet wide. That's the perfect bed size. Like,
so you're gonna have like a little train that gets you from one end to the next.
Yeah.
Well, because it's a lot of walking.
It's a lot of
right?
walking.
That's actually one thing that a lot of people don't think about on their farms is how much walking do you have to do from point A to point B on a day-to-day basis.
That's a really
it's
good point.
really important, and then that's where the whole idea of the permaculture zones really come into play.
Big time.
Like your zone 1 is your post-harvest and maybe your microgreens in your nursery. And then your zone 2 is probably your like most intensive crops, your greens and all that. Your zone 3 is like slower and slower, and the very end is where stuff that you might only go to there once a week. Yeah, your garlic and stuff, like exactly. So yeah, it's a neat idea.
Yeah, cool.
It's a really neat idea.
Cool. We got 81 people watching. That's awesome, guys. I'm gonna kind of scroll through some of the questions that you guys might have put into the. Here we go, a Broadfork question right here. Before watching you, you guys are commenting quickly. I've seen you. Oh, for broadforking, should you broadfork wet soil or dry soil? What's easier?
Moist.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like in the summer, if I have to broadfork a bed, I'll run the drip for like 30 minutes before I do it.
Yeah, down here that would make sense. We'd never have to do that up. It depends where you are.
Yeah.
But up where we are, the soil is always kind of moist, even in the summer. So.
Cool. We're gonna hang out with you guys for maybe 10 more minutes. We'll see how many questions we've got here. Have you guys heard about fortifying your soil with bacteria that produces B12? I've never heard of that.
No, it's one of those things, like you can go down a rabbit hole with an endless amount of things, and it's like, there's a lot of tools in the toolkit.
But yeah, anything that's gonna increase the health of the biology in the soil, I'm pretty much for that. But I've never heard about the B12. It is a small mycorrhizae. Have you ever messed with mycorrhizae?
No, but John Hofer, who's a close personal friend of mine, runs Wise Earth Farm up there. He used to be my business partner on my farm. He is, and I'm gonna have some videos coming out with him soon where he's got, and I might put some on YouTube. Where he's got this Johnson Sioux bioreactor composting dialed.
Yeah, I know what that
He's got it so dialed, and he's got 3 of them now. Like I did a video with him on YouTube last fall showing his first bioreactor. He's got this thing so dialed now. I mean, he's producing a lot of compost. He still has to buy it. Like they're a 2-acre market garden. He still has to buy all of his, like most of his compost. Yeah. But like he buys, I think, like 60 yards a year.
Wow. That's not too bad though.
But he's producing some really nice compost through this thing, and he's using all that for his nursery, and it's beautiful stuff. So I'm not an expert on it. I mean, I've also found too, like, it's another thing you can just go down a rabbit hole with, but to what end? What do you want to get out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's one. Do you know what are the spinach?
Cool. Yeah, definitely cool. Like spinach does really well for me this time of year. Like right now we're still getting close to freezing at night, but then we're getting not quite as warm as this during the day, but almost. It's perfect time for spinach right now. And so I'd be direct seeding. If I was farming right now, I'd be direct seeding spinach right now.
Yeah, I actually don't grow spinach anymore here in San Diego because I've had so many issues. Because even last week we went up to 87, and when that
it's just too hot already.
So then it starts bolting, starts tasting bad. Aphids attack it. So I know that people grow it here, but I actually switched completely over to tatsoi. I can grow that year round under shade cloth.
Asian spinach. Yeah.
Asian spinach is the best, and I've switched like 90% of my customers over to Asian spinach. So they love it. Like, so they don't even miss the regular spinach.
Yeah. Do I ever transplant spinach? Yeah, I transplant with the paper pot only in the fall now. I tried doing it in the spring last year. It just wasn't worth it because I always had a lot of overwintered spinach that I planted in October that is like my first cuts that I'm getting in March, even into mid-April. And then my direct seeded stuff that I planted in March or early April is doing great. And so I don't need to transplant it in the spring. But I do last year we had really good success with, because then I can push, when you transplant spinach, it's great because then you can push your planting date in the field later. And so that allowed me to be transplanting spinach in early November in caterpillar tunnels that became, and I normally would, like that same spinach, I would have normally been seeding the first week of October. So now I can plant it a month later, meaning that I can get whatever summer crops are in those beds, I can squeak another month out of those and get them further by transplanting with a paper pot.
That's really cool.
But to hand transplant spinach is, man, if you want thick yields, hand transplanting just takes too much time. For me,
nuts.
I just don't want to be bending over that much. You got a super chat there.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Sam. 1600. Let's see.
I'm an apprentice on Salt Spring. Hey, I'm going to be in Salt Spring.
Oh, cool.
In July, visiting Michael Abelman's farm, Foxglove. I'm going to be visiting Foxglove in Salt Spring
So he
this
said,
summer.
my dream is to have a one-to-one closed system. Is it worth it for hot composting? I can kind of touch on that. Like here at my little market garden, if you followed my videos on YouTube, I make about 90% of my amendments here on site, and I've done that for 2 years. But having said that, like the labor and time it takes for me to make all the compost, because I'm doing it by hand, I don't have a tractor, it makes way more sense to buy it at $35 a yard from an expert soil maker. But I will say there's one thing I want to research and make, which is it's like a forced air composting system where you force air through pipes. You build your pile, force the air through the pipes. My buddy does it here in San Diego, and he even has like an app hooked up to it so he can monitor temperatures and everything. So in that context, I think it might be possible if you had especially a large piece of land in the back part of your farm, you could just like make a ton of compost and not have to turn it with a tractor or anything. So I'm interested.
I think all this stuff, like call it two sides of the scale. One is to be like closed loop, totally like everything on site, hardcore homesteader prepper type ethics, and then profitability. You're going to be somewhere in between.
Right.
I think like as far as you need to make money on your farm to pay your mortgage, get out of debt or whatever, it doesn't make sense to be closed loop because you'll just take longer to pay off your debt. What I'm doing is I think a track that is worth talking about is I've made money on my farm that's been profitable for many years. That's also provided a lot of value to the world because the fact that my farm is profitable made me worth listening to. Right? And so those things are a vehicle to get me to my end goal. I want to be totally off grid, totally closed loop, knowing, because I still think the shit's going to hit the fan. And so I want to be closed loop and have the ability to be closed loop so that if that happens, boom, I can do those things and then I can close the gates on my farm and say, I don't care what you losers are, I don't care about the zombie apocalypse. I'm growing my own food. I can produce my own energy. I can do it. That's important. Those things are only important to me in that context, but they're not important to me to get out of debt, to pay down my mortgage, to, you know what I mean, create the system of an abundant life and pay for all that crap.
Yeah.
I want to make money to do that, and then boom, then I don't care. But to make money in a closed loop system, forget about it. You'll make way less money. You won't pay down your debts. It's a grind. And I've visited so many farms now, and I've seen everybody who's doing that is grinding. And I'm like, hey, it's still abundant right now. Yeah, you can say what you want about politics and any of that, but it's still abundant. We are still at the pinnacle of human existence on this planet, in my opinion.
Yes. And
that's not going away right away. So that's my thoughts on it. Because I'm all for this stuff, 100%. And I want to learn from Steven too, because there's things that I want to learn from him that I want to implement on my homestead. Like I'm in the process of building a homestead, not my urban lot. My urban lot is still what it is. We still grow a ton of food there, but I'm in the process of buying over 100 acres, and I'm going to go full on off grid. Everything, all the geeky stuff that you can dream about, I'm trying to do that. And so I want to learn all this stuff so that I can implement those things, that when it's the zombie apocalypse, I just close the gates and I got my family and I got some close friends around me and whatever. But until then, I'm not going to get too hung up on that stuff because I'm going to make haste while the sun shines, and the sun is still shining on the United States of America. So I'm going to ride that out, and if Trudeau gets elected in Canada, then I'll probably run into the hills.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, man. I'll be running into the hills. Yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Let me see. I think that's a good place to close it off, actually. That was a really great talk with Curtis. Learned a bunch of different things. So thank you so much, Curtis, for coming by.
And we'll do so. I'm gonna do some more videos with Steven. At least one of them will be on YouTube, and we'll jump into it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Well, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Look for the videos coming out on my channel about Curtis and on Curtis's channel about me. Check out fromthefield.farm. You can sign up now and see all of the amazing content that Curtis is putting out on there. I highly recommend it. I've learned an insane amount from it.